We have today Vivan Sharan with us. He's a partner at Koan Advisory Group. Hi Vivan, welcome to CC.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, not too bad. Survived COVID wave 3, so all good.
Oh, all right. Okay, I hope you're feeling better and get set, ready to now get all your things in place when we talk about crypto and we talk about the regulation there. I'll request my producers to throw open some graphics there for our people to understand what exactly is this new regulation all about that we're talking about in Russia. So Russia also came from a space, Vivan, we're just trying to educate our viewers here, from banning, asking for a ban, now regulating. They have gone into about legitimizing 2 trillion asset class and in the world's 11th largest country, remember. The other thing to remember here is this is the second major regulatory cloud that we have lifted from the global crypto market in a month, and India last week took that deep step as well. So this is a very interesting space. Also in Russia, residents own, guess how much? 12 million cryptocurrency accounts and have about $26.7 billion worth of crypto. The country also ranks 3rd in the world in Bitcoin mining. Now, the regulation is said to be, Vivan, at par almost with how they sort of regulate other foreign currencies. So their outlook towards understanding and adapting to crypto has been very different. However, in some ways it is similar to India, at least the trends we have seen so far, where they say there will be a digital currency which will be run by the government, and then there will be other sort of asset classes, other commodity classes that will come under the radar, and there are now regulations and frameworks for that. What are your key takeaways from this?
Well, my key takeaway is that, normally in internet-related sectors or markets, Russia takes a very similar approach to China. So, for instance, on data localization, Russian rules are very similar to the Chinese because they want to ensure state control. But unlike China in this instance, Russia has taken the strategic call to regulate the crypto space. As you would recall, China banned all forms of crypto, including mining, etc., some time back, which came as a bit of a shock to the industry. But I think that was prompted by a general Chinese trend of regulating technology to make sure that, or to ban technologies where they feel like they don't have enough state control. And Russia has taken this strategic call, which I think is very instructive for countries like India, which, there is a middle path between sort of the liberalism and the free marketeering of, say, the Americans, a very rights-based approach of Europe, and a completely prohibitory approach of China. I think Russia is in that basket now of a country which has decided to take a strategic call to foster an industry that is growing, and really where you really don't have any option but to regulate if you don't want illicit flows of capital. And I think India has already taken a cue, as you said, so we are in good territory.
So, okay, hopefully taking on that. But if you were to compare, say, Vivan, from what Russia is doing to, say, what US has done or EU is looking at it as well, what do you think is a global framework we're actually working towards? I ask this because the Prime Minister has made it very clear that there seems to be that India is in a sort of wait and watch mode when it comes to regulation. The Prime Minister has said it in no other words that there needs to be a global regulation and framework when it comes to crypto.
So a global framework is ideal, but it takes time. And this is something that all government stakeholders are cognizant of. So normally countries have taken this approach of identifying the largest intermediary in the crypto value chain, which tend to be these exchanges. And as you're saying with the Russians, there is a general trend wherein countries impose certain obligations upon these exchanges in return for the ability of these exchanges to operate. So it's a sort of a safe harbor for exchanges and exchange-related activities. That's a preferred approach. I think it makes sense. It's practical at this stage. But what complicates things in the crypto economy is, of course, the level of decentralization also extends to exchanges. So there are a lot of decentralized exchanges. There's a lot of decentralized financial activity. And I think that's really where the international community will need to gather together and figure out a way to
Right,
track.
that point about exchanges is actually valid. If I can just take our viewers through a couple of more points here. For example, Russia says that everybody will have access to the digital ruble, right, over there. But apart from that, only transactions which are bigger than, say, 6 lakh rubles would have to be reported to the Federal Taxation Service. They also talk about how banks can operate as intermediaries between users and crypto exchanges, but you will have to be a verified user with your identities in place, with a proper check and balance of sorts to ensure that it's not going, in the wrong hands or is not perhaps under the radar, so to say, one can say that, of the government, right? Does that defeat the purpose of crypto? Does that add to it? What is that trend?
So, as you would have seen with the recent recovery of a lot of laundered money, in the Bitfinex scam, I'm sure you've covered that in the past. The largest sort of crypto heist, in a sense, was by a couple staying in New York, and the FBI busted that. Busted the couple really a couple of days ago, and they had upwards of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and that they had kind of mined from Bitfinex, which is an exchange, not mined but stolen.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that crypto assets or cryptocurrencies are actually more traceable than cash, and it is contrary to the notion of, this complete anonymity and murkiness that is associated in popular discourse with the crypto economy. So for those who believe in this utopian fundamental that crypto somehow enables anonymity, the FBI has bad news for you, and so do Indian authorities that have done a lot of work. For instance, Delhi police has done work around busting rackets, because it is on a ledger which is immutable, and if authorities get around to supervising activities in the crypto space, they will find it actually much easier to trace the flows of money.
Right.
So
this is how government should be actually looking at it. I have last few minutes, Vivan, so I want to talk about taxation before we miss that altogether. In Russia, for example, there are slabs of taxation. It goes from 0% to 50% altogether. In European Union, also similar. There is a range from 0 to 50%. If I'm seeing the ones in United States, also there are different clauses that sort of come into place. Do you think currently a blanket 30% in India works, and how does it stack up against the world?
So it's very clearly an indication of how the government of India thinks about the crypto market and thinks about the risks associated with it. Until today, technology didn't pose such a bottoms-up risk as it does today, when everyone has access. And a lot of the crypto guys have themselves been saying, look, 15 million, 20 million people trading in our exchanges, and most of them from tier 2, tier 3 cities. That's not necessarily a positive for the government of India, right? It's a risk that they need to mitigate. Tomorrow, if you had UP elections or Goa elections, and suddenly you had a sudden stop in some crypto markets, and values fell rapidly, there are political implications of these things. So I think the thinking right now is to limit the liability of the political class, in a sense, by I guess, throttling the retail appetite to an extent, where they believe that only people who are at a higher income bracket, who are in any case sort of paying these extravagant taxes, should be sort of trading in this market.
Right.
But I think over time this will normalize. So far, what we've seen in the budget is definitely good for an industry which was under a complete cloud of uncertainty. And I think gradually we'll have to move towards a proportionate way of taxation.
Right.
And I'm sure industry and government will interact on that in the days ahead.
Well, we sure hope that happens. Thank you so much, Vivan, for your thoughts and joining us on CC.